Hello, welcome to Show Boys. My name is Mike. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's Thursday. It's the second Thursday of December, so figured we'd probably want to start talking about some holiday Christmas themed topics. So we got a fun one planned for you tonight. I don't know if you recognize my partner here, but this is Pixel Nick. He was definitely a host of Showboys for quite some time, and then he just was kidnapped. I don't know. He abducted by aliens on a hiatus. But regardless, he's back with us tonight. Welcome back, sir. How are you? How have you been?
Good, thank you. I think I'm just gonna do a trend. Anytime you have a Pokemon Fest episode, I'm just gonna disappear for like 4, 5 weeks and then come back. That's what kicked it off. Is you had a Pokemon themed episode, and I just never came back. Everything just kind of stacked on top of that, and I was gone. And it's weird to be back. It's like I was on a sabbatical. I was on a
Yeah.
research sabbatical.
Yeah. So Joe, he asked, can we hear a little more about the new guy? Well, he is very handsome. He's got that traditional mustache and goatee with the chin strap beard look going. You know, rocking the hoodie. He's got the glasses. He's ready to go. But no, yeah, really, how have you been? I do feel like it's been a while since we've chatted, just because life gets crazy and busy this time of year. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I've been good. Busy, definitely busy. That's for sure. Feel like I definitely went on at least one out of state trip during my hiatus. I don't know if I went on a total of two. I think I went on one right before. Um, Man, I don't know. Was I gone all of November? Yeah, I was basically gone all of November. I went out of state twice while I was out. So
yeah,
that's part and due to it. So yeah, definitely just busy. One of those was a work trip. Another one was a wedding. One of my very good friends got married this past
nice,
weekend,
nice.
so that was fun. And I wanted to be here for Andor, but
Mm, yeah, that
just
was
just did not make the cut. I was really jealous. I
yeah.
was not on for the Andor episode.
Yeah, it was weird talking about Star Wars without you or Chad being here because I am definitely uh the least of the three when it comes to Star Wars knowledge.
Yeah,
But you
we
know,
plugged like the two best
yes.
replacements for me, like possible, probably
Yeah.
better.
We had
Tim and Casey.
Casey from Scene Snobs, Tim from Funny Science Fiction. I always want to I don't really know how to say his last name, but in my mind I just call him Tim Bicycle cuz that's kind of what his last name
Oh dear,
looks like.
Tim Bicycle.
But yeah, man, that was a fun time last week. I could listen to those guys talk about Star Wars for hours and hours, and that's just what I did last week. I listened to them talk about Andor for hours and hours. So, um, sad that you weren't able to be there, but man, Casey and Tim did an excellent job, and it's always fun to hang out with those guys and talk shop with them. And so, if you guys are listening, thank you again for coming on last week. It was a lot of fun. Um, do you want to give your quick thoughts about Andor? Just
My
like
quick
the
thoughts.
Nick review of
Whew.
movie or show.
I've had a lot of conversations about Andor with a lot of different people. I don't know who's not watching it, but I keep seeing those stupid articles that are like, no one's watched Andor. It's like, I'm pretty sure people watch Andor. Um, it's just, there's nothing to really like complain about. So maybe that's why people are like thinking it's extra quiet because there just isn't a like wave of distaste for it.
Mhm.
But overwhelmingly, I think it's a really good show. Period. Not even just like a Star Wars show. It's just like a good show because the kind that I think like 3, 4 people on there should be nominated for some sort of like award, right? Because the acting is just phenomenal, the dialogue, the writing's really good, and just adds
Mhm.
so much weight to the entire rebellion, right? And that whole premise of things. Because it's funny because that's like what people picked on Rogue One for was like, oh, we know how it ends, haha. But like we know how this ends. Like they're doing it again, but for whatever reason, that does not matter. Like it works so well because you know how it ends. It's like they just add all this gravity to
Yes.
this already great story.
Yeah, man,
You know,
I tried to make that point last week, and you just made it like 100 times better and like a lot less words.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing is like it's basically been like 4 weeks since that show's ended, and I haven't been on the podcast, so I've had a lot of time to think about my thoughts
Yes, yes.
on that wonderful show. But yeah,
I'm
amazing,
I
and
miss
I'm
it.
really glad. I'm really glad that it's like a fixed 24 episodes.
Mhm.
I think that's phenomenal because we know there's a definitive beginning, and to me, that's the reassurance that we have with that show is like it plugs right in the Rogue One, and we just know how the story ends. So
Yeah.
we're along for this like stellar ride. They don't have to build to anything.
Yep. Yeah, they just get to build around everything that they've already set up for us.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's pretty phenomenal when like some of the best scenes are just Mon Mothma talking in her
yes.
fancy apartment.
Yeah, that's one of the
Um,
things that Casey and Tim both said last week were just the monologues and the speeches were like the best parts of the show. And we got I can't even count. I think you need two hands to count the amazing like just purely dialogue scenes that were just epic.
oh yeah,
And we got
yeah,
them from several different characters. It just wasn't one character just
yep.
dropping these crazy speech bombs to everyone. It was, Luthen, Mon Mothma. You got, and, Cassian. You got. I mean, there's just Deidre, like all over the place. There's all these awesome conversations that carry the show and make it so great. But yeah, best Star Wars show. That's what I say. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm glad you got to, at least for a brief moment, share your thoughts.
Yeah, I can just keep going for the next hour on that. How have you been? You've just been like solo casting here, just pulling people in where you need them.
Yep. Just trying to do my best, at being the weaker leg of our trifecta of hosts. It's been crazy
That's
that people
horrible.
are even still watching and listening, but thank you guys. But yeah, it's been lonely. Like I miss you guys.
Well, same before I came on here is like if Chad misses one more week after this, he will have been gone
We're gonna have
longer
to
than
send a
I was
search
just
party.
gone. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
We
we
have to
might be
find
seeing
Chad.
Chad's face pop up on some milk cartons pretty soon. I don't know.
Hopefully he's not like Cody part 2, like just vanishes from the
I
pod,
miss Cody.
never to be seen again.
Yeah. I think he'll be okay. He needs to come back because of something that we'll bring up in our What's Watching, What's Playing segment in a little bit. But yeah, glad to have you back. Let's thank our patrons, top tier patrons, Tim B, Yusuf H, and Joe C. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. All of our other patrons, you guys are just as awesome. Really, you guys help us be able to do the things that we do, and without your support, we wouldn't be able to do all the cool things that we try to do. One of which being some crazy giveaways that we're going to be doing. We've set 2 goals for ourselves. We want to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And that's like our main goal. We're really striving to hit 1,000 subscribers. But we set our midway goal there of hitting 500 subscribers. Just something we can accomplish, make ourselves feel good as we continue to push on to 1,000 subscribers. Someday 100,000. But yeah. So we've set up a couple giveaways. The first one, when we hit 500 subscribers, we're gonna give away, that time's relevant video game, or the winner's video game of choice. So that should be fun. We're real close. We're just above 300. We're at like 318 or 3 something like that. So we're getting close to 500. So do your part. Share, tell your friends. If you're not subscribed and you're listening right now, please consider subscribing if you like what you hear.
Click.
Once we hit 500 subs, we'll do that game giveaway. and we'll as we get closer, see what the big game is at the time, or just have the winner pick a game of their choice. But the real fun and exciting giveaway we're doing is when we hit 1,000 subscribers, we are going to give away a Nintendo Switch OLED. And we got this crispy white OLED just waiting to be given away, mainly because Nick hates video games and even more so hates Nintendo. So he wants this out of his house. And luckily for you, Nick is the one holding on to it. Otherwise, I don't know if I would be able to stop myself from playing on this bad boy. But yes, we have a brand new OLED Switch to give away to a lucky winner once we hit 1,000 subscribers. So again, pass our YouTube channel link around to all your friends, people who you think would like to listen to a couple dorks talk about movies and shows and video games and all the fun stuff in between. And as we get closer and hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers, we'll get into how to enter the giveaway and how we'll pick the winner. But we got to get there first. So make sure you help us reach those goals so we can give this stuff away. Pretty please. And now we know where he's been playing that Switch. That's right. That's right. I don't see a seal on that box, so
they don't have seals
knows?
on them. I guess I could like open it up and see if it's in like any sort of plastic. But I have not opened this. I wouldn't even know what to do with this thing. I have no idea what I would do with it.
Yeah. Well, they're mainly used
I
to play video
play
games on, Nick.
I don't know. I don't. I need a Steam Deck if I'm gonna play games in my hand because the games I play are on the Steam.
I heard they're giving away like a whole crap load of Steam Decks during the Video Game Awards tonight.
While I was purchasing that at GameStop, that's what our buddies at GameStop were telling me. So we were talking about the Steam Deck.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the Video Game Awards are happening right now. So
what are we doing then?
I don't know. Hopefully Chad's, writing up some articles for the website for you guys to read. Because I'm going to need a recap because we're in here. Speaking of, Joe says you're going to be excited about the new Star Wars game that was just announced at the Game Awards. Was it Eclipse or is it another Star Wars game that's not going to be made for like 15 years? Like, how excited should I get?
I feel so distant from like the gaming world. I'm just still like where I was 5 weeks ago. Yeah, I don't know anything new. I'm like a blank slate over here.
Well, you want to get into some news?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. Well, since it's your triumphant return to the show, I'll let you start us off here with the news segment.
Well, shoot, the biggest news that's hit me while I've been gone, and I haven't been able to like quite dig in, but it really just came out, I think this week, if not 2 days ago. But Valheim Mistlands is officially live for everyone to enjoy. And it's free update. It's really just adding content that should be there anyways. We are still in early access, but this game just keeps getting better, right? Just filling it full of content. I'm looking forward to the day where it's like done and out of early access, if that's ever like possible. Just like how much will be in this game, because it's I have 400 hours in it with probably 40% of the content in it. I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But Mistlands is like the first major update. Hearth and Home, it was kind of like a halfway house for updates. It added just a lot of stuff to the existing areas, existing things you do, but Mistlands really cracks it open, and it's very much so an expansion to the base game. So tons of new mechanics. They're linked in the episode description is the official release from Valheim creators. There's an abridged abbreviated patch notes, spoiler free, and then if you scroll on down, you can click a button and reveal the full patch notes, which gives tons of spoilers. And even I would say the trailer has handful of spoilers in it too, so tread lightly if you care about that stuff, because this game definitely is fun to just explore and organically find new things.
Yes.
But yeah, whole new
That trailer,
biome.
the
Oh, yeah.
trailer is so sick. Like it was
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty nutty. It just looks so much different than all the other areas so far. And 9 new creatures plus the boss, 20 new crafting materials, more crafting
20 new
stations,
materials?
crafting materials. Yeah, not even items.
Dang.
15 new food items, new potions, 25 new craftable items,
Jeez.
35 new building pieces. Blowing it wide open. They have a new type of dungeon, something called New Dreams. I'm not familiar with any dreams that previously existed, unless I'm just not sure what those are called and when I enter them. But maybe I'm dreaming half the time I'm playing this game. I probably should be, because it draws into the wee hours of the night. And Mike, there's a
What?
fishing update.
I saw that. As much as I love fishing in video games, this is the only video game that has fishing that I've never fished in.
Maybe you should try now that
I
they've fished
should.
it. When
I
I was
should.
on,
I've
I
seen
popped on
some
really quick.
cool. Oh, go ahead.
No, I popped on really quick, and there was like these like red carp or something like jumping through
Oh,
the ocean.
nice. Dang, dude, that's sweet. I saw some images. I forget if it was on Twitter or like scrolling through the Valheim page on Steam or whatever, of people like mounting fish that they've caught, like huge fish on their walls in their homes or
Oh.
like on their docks or whatever, and it's super cool. Biosiv's excited for Valheim. Looks like he was doing some fishing this morning too.
Nice.
Which is cool. Got some
He can be a
perch.
resident fisher on the server.
There you go. And Joe gave us an update. It is Jedi Survivor coming in March. Oh, snap. That is right around the corner. Of course, Survivor being the sequel of Jedi Fallen Order, which is a game we all loved here. So we're excited for Survivor. And that's
it's wild we didn't get live action Cal before the sequel here.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're like aging him a little more to make it make a little more sense, like real life wise. But March, that's exciting news. Yeah. Anything else here about the Misslins?
No, that's the big stuff. Anything beyond that gets spoilerly. I don't want to ruin it for anyone.
That's true.
But
Because
if
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, if you want the next level of like info, the trailer gets you there.
Mhm.
After you watch the trailer and you just want to keep going, that's where you expand the full patch notes and you'll get all the goodies in there. But there are rabbits. There are rabbits now, which is
Ooh,
a fun addition.
I want to know. Don't tell me, but I can't wait to find like the next plantable vegetable for our
That I don't know
farm
what it
plots.
is yet.
So here's a good plug. Join if you play Valheim, join our Discord. We have a dedicated server that has been live for, it's coming up, I think, on 900 days in game. So
wow. 900 days
yeah.
playtime, game time,
Yes.
game time.
Yeah, we got quite a few establishments built there and under construction, tons of stuff. But yeah, like you were saying about not wanting to spoil things with this update, I think that is what makes Valheim so fun and so like such an enjoyable game is, just for example, after Hearth and Home, walking through the swamp and seeing the new like mini boss, like what would you call like the troll of every biome?
Yeah, basically, yeah, that's the troll of that biome. Obviously, a little beefed up because the swamps are hard.
Yeah, but like
yeah,
seeing that
mini boss.
appear and trying to fight that for the first time was, I don't know, those moments in Valheim are just so fun, and it kind of takes you back to like gaming before, I don't know, the internet was really a thing and you could just like look everything up, and so when you would go into a game, you're not really surprised by anything. playing Valheim like you live under a rock is probably the best experience that you could have in gaming, just because there's so many interesting things that are just like, holy crap, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, and
So
especially like the mountain biome. Like that one like the swamp was cool, but I like the mountains and they added so much to the mountains in the past, like just over the summer with like
mhm.
sneaky updates. Technically there was like another big update after Hearth and Home that was for the mountain biome, and that place is already hard, and then you're just kind of wandering through the mountains, and then they just randomly add some stuff that you did not expect to be there, and so it's like, wow, this
Yeah.
keeps getting harder.
Yeah, so excited to get into that. I gotta find a Mistland to explore on our server, though.
Well, that's
So that's half
partly
the
why
battle.
we partly why we founded Bebenberg where we founded it. It is just a stone throw
Oh.
away from a lot of Mistland.
Ooh, exciting. So yeah, check that out. Join our Discord. You're all welcome to come play on our Valheim server, and join the fun. I have an article for you guys, and it involves our favorite, formerly known as Netflix creator, Mike Flanagan. So there was an article, maybe last week or the week before, came out that said, Mike Flanagan, the Midnight Club was canceled after season 1, which I just kind of rolled my eyes at because I don't
I
think
hate
there
the
was
internet.
intentions of a season 2 at all, because that's not his style in these Netflix shows. But that article continued to go on why that happened, because he is leaving Netflix and signed a deal to create for Amazon, which is interesting, but not what I'm talking about tonight. However, the article I'm bringing is indeed about Mike Flanagan and might end up on Prime. And what's happening? What's so important here? Mike Flanagan has secured the rights to create and adapt Dark Tower series. So he got the rights to Stephen King's Dark Tower IP, and is developing for TV and film right now as we speak. Mike Flanagan and of course Trevor Macy's Intrepid Pictures are handling this. But we know Mike Flanagan, of course, from Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, Midnight Club, and the movies Gerald's Game and Doctor Sleep. But yeah, Flanagan's been wanting to do like, this is his dream project. Like, he's been wanting to do
Nice.
this for years and years. In this article, he said that he's been like writing and conceptualizing this series, this project, for half of his life.
That's
So
awesome.
this is an amazing opportunity for him as a creator. But he's developing this for Amazon, like we alluded to, which is probably why he left Netflix. But he sees this project as 5 seasons followed by 2 standalone movies. So he's got quite a concept here, and it really seems like he has a complete vision from beginning to end, which is an excellent sign. Something we always talk about, something that we like to, one of the reasons that we like that sweet spot of like 3 to 5 seasons for our series, because typically when you have a game plan like that, you have an end in mind. Everything should lead up and point to that ending that you have in mind, meaning every scene matters, every scene counts, every detail is important, and you're not just writing filler to have another episode to extend the show or whatever. But yeah, this is exciting. I've enjoyed tons of Mike Flanagan's work, so I'm excited to see this. I want to say that, wasn't there a Dark Tower movie with Idris Elba like a couple years ago or something? I
Yes, I
probably
do
should have
believe
looked that
so.
up, but
No.
yeah, it didn't really go over too well, and I think this is an IP that people have been wanting
Yeah.
to see adapted for quite some time. So seems like it landed with the perfect creator for this. So I'm excited to see what happens here. Jordan's here. Welcome, Jordan. Thanks for tuning
Jordan.
in. he says, would have loved to see Flanagan's interpretation of A Creepy Christmas Carol. That would actually be pretty rad. Not gonna lie there. Because the Christmas Carol story already is kind of creepy anyways.
Yeah, it's super creepy. And I don't know, maybe hopefully there's still room for him to do one-off projects outside of this. Obviously this will end eventually and he can get back to doing other things. But after a very good anthology series run on Netflix, with the hauntings and the manors, I'm excited to see him do like something not anthology, something like very wholesome, like he's got a vision for end to end. And also, maybe we're kind of done with the creepy horror anthologies, at least for now. I think that was a good place to park it after the last one there. Probably a better use of his talents. I'm glad he was able to build up some notoriety and some repertoire there with some very good series on Netflix.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's so encouraging, I just said like 17 times, and every time it just like got higher pitch. I was like, yeah. But yeah, the one thing that I think should get people excited, the strength of each of those horror series on Netflix, while yes, the scares were there, the horror element was there, but each one also told a really compelling and gripping story, right? It wasn't just you didn't tune in just for the horror aspects or just for the jump scares or the way the ghosts or monsters or whatever looked. Like, you tuned in because you cared about the story, and the horror element was just an added bonus on top, right? So like, the man knows how to tell a story and tell a story well, so that should be encouraging going into adapting this.
And I felt he was always kind of like pushing the bounds of each of those series on Netflix, to where, like, I think the first one is the most digestible. Hill House is the most widely digestible series. Like, you can probably tell anyone to watch that and they'll like it or they'll not like it, but they will get it. They will be able to watch it. Whereas I feel like with each one, they became less digestible because he was really pushing the bounds of his like storytelling ability, to the point where, the last one, the Midnight Club, like, it's ultra confusing. It seems like it has no like point or bearing, but then like we sat down and talked about it for 2 hours and it's like, well, holy crap, it has like too much like to like consider and factor in. So that just means it just shows like how good he is, but maybe it's time for him to really kind of like channel that into a big IP like this.
And a longer project too, to be able to like have a nice chunk of time to tell the story instead of trying to cram it in 8 episodes or whatever they give him at Netflix, 8 or 10 or whatever. But there you have it. News. At least 2 things of news. Hope you guys.
There's plenty of other news going on. There's video games and stuff, and the world keeps turning.
It sure does.
Unfortunately.
Random fact. Went to the library the other day with the kids. Our middle child's getting into space, which is cool. And then one of the books we got her, I want to say is like, it takes Neptune like 163 or 165 years to fully orbit the sun.
Wow.
Isn't that pretty crazy?
Checks out. Yeah, it's so far out there, dude. Takes a while.
Yeah, dude. Well, there's your Showboys random fact of the week, brought to you by the local library over here in Northeast Ohio.
You didn't consider starting her off with like flat Earth theory and seeing
I
how
thought
that,
about
like,
it.
stuck with her?
Yeah, just letting her watch Wendigoon videos about like the hollow Earth and giants and flat Earth. Yeah, I mean, I definitely dropped the ball. I apologize.
I would just be interested in terms of like a poor kid, like a social experiment there, in terms of like, at what point does it like click that this is like, she just believes it, or is it's like, this is not true. I'm going to the library and I'm getting a book.
Well, she's 5, so she probably would believe it.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah. But yeah, we got one more segment and then we're going to get into the topic at hand. But first, it's been a while. Let's catch each other up on what we've been watching and playing.
Oh yeah.
What you've been watching and or playing, sir?
Well, I've been doing a little bit of both. So the wife and I, and also this our most recent trip spurred this, because we needed something to watch on the plane. So we like crushed season 2 of The Crown
Okay.
in about a week, which isn't terribly crushed, but made good pace for it. And we have one more episode there. Then we're going to move into season 3. So I think we're pretty dedicated to power through the series because she really wants to get to some of the newer stuff as it gets more current with like the times as we move forward. But we're still kind of in the 60s, I think, in that timeline. But I like that show a lot. It's just cool. It's kind of like an anthology series of itself because each episode's like a separate story in order though, right? So sometimes they jump forward a few years, but none of that matters. It's just like, hey, we're going to talk about and hone in on this aspect of the family around these events. So it's a really cool show, though they are full hours and they can be a bit slow at times. She falls asleep toward the end of them, and I give her the quick cliff notes on the ending. Just a nice lens of history.
Yeah.
That's the big show we've been watching. I feel like there's been like a ton of other stuff in there. Playing now, what I've been playing, that's more interesting to me. Over the Steam sale on Black Friday time period there,
Some good
I
deals.
got Total War 3 Kingdoms, like a
Nice.
steep 66% off. Been looking at that game for a while, and it is rather fantastic for a Total War game in that the story that kind of like build, like it goes through the time period of the Three Kingdoms in China. And that's basically a point in time where the Han Empire of the time is like collapsing and it's like a bunch of inner fighting in China. So it's a really cool take because it's not necessarily like a ton of different nations going full total war. It's a lot of factions within the same country. So there's a lot of like politics and a lot of like alliances and a lot of different things like that. And they really capture the whole, because before each battle, when you go into the battle scene off of the main map, your armies are kind of like commanded by generals or heroes, right? So you place heroes,
Mhm.
like notable characters in them, and they act as their own unit. So like the like warrior ones will just go through and decimate like hundreds of dudes. So it kind of, and that's an element from Total War Warhammer, um, where you have like really big, larger than life characters. So they blended a lot of cool elements into this Total War that kind of separates itself from Rome, Rome 2, but it still is that historical setting on like the Warhammer series. So I've been really enjoying that, and I'm working on something for the blog based
Ooh,
on my
nice.
adventures there. So theory crafting, testing some stuff out. Um, we'll see where that goes, but I need to play more of my campaign because I've quite the story going. And our producer here, Dad, he watched me play a good portion of this campaign. He doesn't at all play any of these games, and he was getting into it. Um, I think he almost bought it, but it was no longer on sale, and he was like, "What the heck? Like full price game? No way!" I'm like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
who
you missed
does
it.
that? Look,
Missed the
everyone
boat."
looks at Chad.
3 times.
Yeah.
I've bought this game full price 7 times, and I've beaten it 14. That's Chad. Valheim,
Classic.
of course, somewhere in there. And right before I got Total War, I went on a minor RimWorld kick. Ever so
Mm.
minor, but I fired up a game of RimWorld and was having a really good time there too. But the problem that these games have is both RimWorld, Three Kingdoms, and now Valheim, like they turn off whatever part of your brain says go to sleep you're tired. And all of a sudden, like, Three Kingdoms, like, I was staying up till, like, 1 AM consistently, like, every night of the week, but that was around
You animal.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, it was around, like, Thanksgiving and all that, so, I had time to rest other places, I guess, or I was okay with just dealing with the utter tiredness. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, I was glad that I got pulled away because I think, I had a trip, or I think that's right before we went to the wedding, and I was just like, okay, I need to forcibly remove myself from this game, or I'm going to slip into a Valheim stint, because we were doing that with
Uh-oh.
Valheim for a good while. Where
Yeah.
just whatever, I need to look it up, whatever that part of your brain that's like, I'm physically not tired. Like, my brain is like jacked. It's like it's a drug. It's crazy. Because you get off of that and you're like, whew, man, like
Yeah.
I can keep going. You have to like purposely say stop, you
Yep.
idiot.
Yep. Yeah, it's something I've learned over probably the last, well, I think since our youngest was born, so a little over a year, because when newborns come, sleep leaves forever.
Yeah.
So I like trained myself to try to stop gaming by like 11 at the latest,
Oh, it's so hard.
because my like you said, your brain just keeps going, especially when I used to just be into the competitive multiplayer stuff.
Right.
My mind would just be racing, like replaying mistakes or like trying to think of new strategies for when I'd get on next or whatever. So I would make myself stop playing by like 11, then go upstairs, lay on the couch and like put a show on. And then that would just like shut my brain down. And then
Mm-hmm.
I would end up starting to doze off by like 40 minutes into the show. And then that kind of like put, a damper on watching stuff, because I would basically watch an episode over 2 nights because I would like start falling asleep. But whatever. Now I can't really game past 11 because I'm just like, oh man, either I start to get tired, or I'm like, if I don't get off now, like I'm not gonna go to sleep tonight.
Well, that's the thing, and
um,
that's funny you say 11, because 11's like, that's like the magic number. It's like if I can convince myself to stop playing this game by 11, I'm good.
yeah.
But if I go past 11, and it's like 11:06, I'm
Yes.
like, screw it. Like, midnight's the next checkpoint. And by the time you get to like 12, 12:10,
Hey, you might as
12:15,
well go to 1.
yep. As soon as you hit 12:15, you're like, you know what? 1 is the cutoff. Like, there's the magic number, because
What's
I know
another
I can get,
60 minutes?
yeah, I'm like, if I can get 5 hours of sleep, I'll be okay. I'll
Yeah,
be okay.
the Mondays after our D&D sessions are always rough because we play all the way up to midnight, and then sometimes, depending on like how involved the story is, it'll run over. Um and like none of us want to stop playing, which is a problem. And
Mhm.
then like they're so fun. And Joe, shout out Ugly Kid Joe Cross, who's our DM, who's like crafted up this crazy campaign. Like the tales he's weaving in our sessions are like really awesome. And the last 2 sessions ago especially, but the last couple, like after we get off, I'm just like, I can't stop thinking about the
Yeah.
story that's unfolding. And then I'm like looking at my phone, I'm like, oh, it's 1:30. This is gonna be awesome. Tomorrow's gonna be so fun.
So fun. And that's the thing with like Total War, because you have like a family tree, and like there's marriages, and like you have to maintain your family tree, because once the current ruler dies, like you need to have an heir, or the game like kind of ends for you. And also like in the one campaign I'm doing now, like the leader, he's like in his 50s, 60s, and he was leading the one army going like deep into enemy territory. But his son, who's the heir, he's leading a different army, and he had this really cool opportunity to like prove himself, right? And he did
Mm,
some really strategic stuff, and it was awesome. But like, it's this like narrative in my head of like all these things that are going on in my game, and it's just
mm.
like I need to hit one more turn because like we need to get through
Yes.
this. But then you're only like 5% through the map.
Oh, jeez.
Like it's nuts.
So Joe says, in regards to paying full price for video games, shout out Chef Yak, the one and only
Chef
chef in the Showboys
Yak.
Discord, definitely buys games at full price. What is
Full
he?
price YOLO, don't
A
care.
peasant? Of course he buys games at full price. And then he says, I seen you stream late the other night. He's a phony. That is true. Last night I streamed late and but we beat Resident Evil 5, so that's all that matters. And then a quick update, Dad behind the scenes again. Forgot to mention he was here with us tonight, like he has been the last several weeks. Thank you so much, man, in the comments and helping us know what the heck we're talking about.
I'm not used to this. I haven't been on an episode since he's been behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's pretty great. He says in our little private chat, the hypothalamus, a peanut-sized structure deep inside the brain, contains a group of nerve cells that act as control centers affecting sleep and arousal. So Total War is arousing your hypothalamus, not letting you fall asleep, Nick.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's a
science,
seductive
biology,
seductive little thing happening over there with Total War.
Oh dear. That's the thing though, like
yes.
that's why I like playing the PlayStation, because for some reason, even though the game's like that's like a different draw late into the night. Like if it's 1 a.m. and I'm playing the PlayStation, like I'm slumped, I'm like physically tired and like falling asleep, but like I'm trying to keep going. It's easier to like shut it off, and it's something about sitting in this chair and like staring at this screen and playing like a strategy game that just like makes my brain like go bananas.
Dude, same thing happens to me when I'm playing Switch versus PC, and like
you passed out the Switch.
Yeah, I usually have it when I play on the TV docked. It's just on the other side of the basement over there, and I'll just be like sitting on the couch, and then I'm just like continuing to slouch down until I'm like basically laying on the couch, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm literally like falling asleep right now.
Have you ever dropped your Switch on your face?
No, I don't. Oddly enough, the one mode that I find myself playing in the most is called tabletop mode, which is I'll just give you guys a quick demonstration for when you win our OLED giveaway. Tabletop mode, you can take the Joy-Cons off, and then there's a little kickstand on the back, and you can set it up like that, which you can't see because it blends in with my black desk.
And then you just have the controllers.
You can set it up like this, and then I just put these in a controller and I play like that. But I also use this handy little phone stand that I got for my phone, but works perfectly for the Switch. So I'll just like set it there and then just be playing.
I like how it's right next to your work computer.
Yeah, that's totally a coincidence. That totally doesn't get played during the day at all.
Good lordy.
But yeah,
can you watch shows? Can you watch shows on that?
They have, I think YouTube is on there. Like I think Hulu is.
Okay, weird.
But I don't think Netflix is. The internet is like garbage on it. However, another little teaser for the OLED. The OLED is the first Switch dock that comes with an Ethernet port, so you can hardline into the internet. So I'm sure watching Hulu or YouTube on the OLED is smooth as butter when you're plugged in.
What is the Ethernet?
Yeah, exactly. You playing or watching anything else, sir?
Yeah. So I have access to Crunchyroll, and shout out my nephew, MVP.
I'm sorry, Joe. Joe says so far we've covered planets, history, and science. Where will we go next? Hopefully to our actual topic at some point tonight. We will talk about extreme Christmas movies.
Yeah, it's actually just it's a grade school class right now. We're just hitting all the easy ones. But I have because I've been on and off playing Dragon Ball Z Kakarot on the PS5. I have taken on the task of watching Dragon Ball from the beginning. So like Dragon Ball OG
You
series.
madman.
And I'm gonna go right through Z into Super. I am 20, 30 episodes through Dragon Ball. I think there's like 120 or something like that. So
It's an ambitious task at
they're
hand.
20-minute episodes. They are my brain wind down things. Usually I fall asleep halfway through the episode because it's just the perfect amount of like nothing in
Yeah.
those shows where it's just all right, brain's done. Good night.
Joe says, don't talk about trains because this podcast is off the rails.
Oh boy. Oh
Boo.
dear.
Must be a slow night at work.
Yeah. Have you been watching or playing anything?
Yeah, oddly enough, I haven't really been watching much of
Nothing.
anything. Like finished Andor, finished Rings of Power, all those things for episodes, in previous weeks. And then like once I finished Andor, I just kind of, I don't know, stopped watching stuff for like a week. I started the Peripheral, got like 3. There you go, Jeff, Dad. He knows what's up. Started Peripheral, got like 3-ish, 4 episodes in, and I think I talked about it briefly on one of our episodes a couple weeks ago, but like thought the concept was cool, but it kind of just wasn't landing yet for me. I've gotten back into it. It's definitely it still hasn't fully grabbed me yet, but like it's wrapping its arms around me, if that makes any sense. Like it's trying, it's getting close. And if you could see Dad behind the scenes, that was a great image. Yeah, so
it hasn't aroused your hippopotamus gland yet.
Yeah, no, my hippopotamus has not been aroused yet, but
All right.
yeah, I'm getting back into that. I think I have 2 episodes left. I believe there's 8 episodes. The season's wrapped. It's done. That's a Prime show. And then, of course, I've been smashing through The Chosen. Yes, that is definitely going to be a short. Yeah, we've been running the Chosen Companion series, myself and my buddy James from the nerdybible.com, in anticipation for season 3, which starts
Shout
on
out.
Sunday. So if you watch The Chosen or don't know what the heck we're talking about, you can check out our companion series on YouTube and all of our audio platforms. That's been consuming a lot of my watching time. There were 2 seasons that we covered. We just recorded the season 2 finale, so like we finally have brought ourselves up to date. And the new season starts on Sunday, so it just kind of worked out almost perfectly. And the crazy thing is with The Chosen, they didn't announce the premiere of season 3 up until like last week, maybe. So we started our first episode released in August 30th, so we've been going at this for quite some time. And the fact that like we had no idea when season 3 would start. Good night, I love you.
It's funny you say that. I was literally just telling my parents, I think this podcast has been out for almost 2 years now.
The podcast has been out for over 2 years, but we're just talking about the Chosen series started in August, which is crazy because it's been like 3 months. Good night, Beck. But yeah, like when we started, we had no idea when season 3 would premiere, and then look at it now. We almost landed perfectly.
Bless them.
Yeah, who would have thought? But yeah, that's all I've been watching lately. What's playing? I recently beat Lost in Random. That stream is wrapped, and the playlist is up on YouTube. Showboys Gaming. Super fun game, really interesting story, very interesting game mechanics, and absolutely beautiful art style. Thank you, Ugly Kid Joe Cross, for getting me interested and gifting me the game. Thank you. Just beat Resident Evil 5 last night with the one and only BioCiv. So that
Civ.
stream will be hitting Showboys Gaming in the coming days, I would assume. Of course, playing Pokemon Violet and like Chad I wish Chad was here because went to the library 2 nights ago and I picked up Persona 5 Royal for the Switch. Um, and it's been pretty good so far. I'm like a little over 2 hours in.
Oh, bro.
It's interesting. Waiting for the actual gameplay to like kick in. Like I went through my first like
Playing this
tutorial
game, I'm
dungeon
waiting for the
thing.
game to actually start.
Yeah, well, like it's a lot of talking, which I kind of assumed would be the case for Persona.
Metal Gear Solid 4-hour cutscenes.
Yeah. The way they do the cutscenes, so they have like, your typical game play like point of view, and then they have like the in-game cutscenes, and then they have like the cinematic cutscenes, and the cinematic cutscenes straight up it just looks like I'm watching an anime and it's amazing. Yeah, it's an interesting game. I'm excited to continue it. But Chad would be so excited and so proud. And then, of course, since all of our stream games have been beaten recently, I'm about to start for a research project, a playthrough of Pokemon Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. There's a poll in our Discord, so go vote. Tell me which version you want to watch me play. But that will be the next stream game. Yeah, it was tied 4-4, but now it's tied 3-3. So two people removed their votes. So ouch, that was rude. Also didn't help the tie, so double ouch, I guess. But I might start that one up tomorrow night, depending on what's going on here. But that's what I've been watching. That's what I've been playing. Let's get into the topic because we're hitting an hour. We haven't even talked about our topic for the night.
What's the topic?
I thought you had the topic.
Nope, I didn't have a topic.
Oh my gosh. No. So we're talking about the rise of extreme Christmas movies. So over the last couple years, we've noticed some crazy movies involving Santa Claus and the Christmas season come out, and to much surprise, I think, find some solid success, and even using some big name actors involved in these projects, which is crazy. We just had this year's big extreme Christmas movie release in theaters, I think like a week ago, called Violent Night, starring David Harbour, everyone's favorite, formerly out of shape and overweight small town cop in Stranger Things, Old Hopper. He stars in this movie, plays Santa Claus, who is apparently adept in the martial arts, and not afraid to open up a can on some baddies that are trying to ruin Christmas. And that just kind of got my mind going. Is like, I wonder what's made this trend of these like violent and extreme Christmas stories like catch on. Like what's going on there? Like why, how? So that's kind of what we're going to get into tonight. Do you have any like thoughts or feelings on extreme Christmas movies? Or are you more of like a classical Christmas movie kind of guy, or do you just not care at all?
I don't think I care at all. So
This
my
will be a
wife is
fun
very
episode. All right. Well,
Yeah,
see you guys
no.
next week.
No, like I think it's an interesting topic in that I think people have seen more of these than they think they've seen
Mhm.
because they've been around for a while, which I didn't even think about until I looked it up. And the 80s had like a big stint of extreme and or alternative Christmas themed movies.
I like alternative Christmas movies.
Yeah.
And we're done here. Yep, exactly.
And I think my issue with Christmas movies is the same issue I have with like scary movies, like all of our October themed stuff. And it's just like they're just like B level and or just like they don't do anything for me like in the value of my life. Like they're mildly entertaining, but they don't they don't bring any like value beyond that mild entertainment. And like I just watched Fat Man, and there's like a comedy-ish tag on it, and like it's just not funny, like to me. Like it's just I can see where they're trying to be funny, and it's just like not funny.
Boo.
There's like some humorous concepts, right? When they how they I like it when they like world build a little bit, of course, and we get like a different take on elves and like Santa's workshop, like stuff like that is cool. But when it
Yeah.
comes to like the characters they're like inserting here, that's where I'm just like, whatever. But I mean, easily you can throw in like Die Hard, right? Everyone's seen Die Hard, and that easily fits the bill here.
Mhm.
And the 80s just seemed to have a ton, whether they were popular or unpopular, and just like no one remembers them because they were bad 80s movies.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it took like a little bit of a hiatus, and this is where I think we're kind of seeing a little bit of a resurgence in this theme, and maybe like the most extreme cases of these movies where
Yeah.
they just like really want to push that envelope. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like you said, this isn't like really that new of an idea, right? Like I think the list that you sent me, they have movies going back all the way to like the 70s, maybe the late 60s. But I wonder, like, so I think there's a difference between like a Die Hard, for example, or Batman Returns, whichever one is, with
right,
Mr. Freeze or whatever. Um, that can be loosely considered Christmas movies versus a movie like Violent Night or Fat Man, where it's like this weird, extreme take on like Santa himself.
right.
Or like a classic Christmas character, because there was another like B tier movie that released called The Mean One, and it's basically a slasher film where the Grinch is the slasher.
Yeah.
So like that stuff versus like movies we've talked about before, Anna and the Apocalypse. It was on a list of mine. I forget what list it is exactly, which is funny because it kind of combines your two favorite movie types, which is Christmas and horror together. Where Anna and the Apocalypse is a zombie movie taking place during Christmas,
Mhm.
which is just like a wild concept, but it like works. And on top of that, it's also a musical, which is extra weird. But trust me, like I know that sounds like the dumbest movie ever, but watch Anna and the Apocalypse. You will be thoroughly entertained.
You
I
love that
love that
movie.
movie. It's so good. Um, but like there's a difference between that and say Fat Man, which is like Santa's played by Mel Gibson, and he's like this gritty, like cynical Santa Claus. Uh, like the whole story of Santa Claus and his workshop and the elves, like everything is kind of very grounded. He like lives up in Canada, like on this huge ranch. His workshop is in this giant shed, like underground. He gets a government subsidy because
Government contract.
people's
Or
people's
yeah.
belief in the Christmas spirit stimulates the US economy. So they give him a subsidy to like keep his shop running, which is hysterical. Uh,
Right.
and like I think what makes this is a side note. I'll continue explaining Fat Man, but I think what makes this the comedy portion is not how the movie plays out, but more so just the concept of the movie.
The
Because the
premise,
movie is
yeah.
very like tongue in cheek, like as serious as it can be in and of itself in this concept. Like there's a few one-liners here or there, but like not like Marvel one-liners, more like I guess DC one-liners, if that makes sense. Where like
Like
it's
how
not
you
like
have two categories
yeah,
of
it's not like
one-liners, and it's DC and
Thor
Marvel.
like cracking a joke in a very light-hearted tone. It's like Batman trying to crack a joke, which isn't possible because Batman's like dark and broody all the time.
The
But
Batfleck.
but yeah, it's just like the whole concept of Fat Man. Like
Right.
Walter Goggins' character is a kid who was spurned by Santa when he was very young. So like he's basically like this sociopath who collects authentic from Santa toys because Santa like gave him a Matchbox car and then didn't like we're led to believe like stopped giving him presents. And he's like this sociopath hitman who gets hired by this like 12-year-old little turd, absolute like crazy douche who gets a lump of coal from Santa. He is so angered by getting a lump of coal in his spoiled brat, attitude that he hires a hitman to go kill Santa Claus. So that's the concept of Fat Man, which is just so absurd. And then you throw in the fact that like not only does Santa get a government subsidy to produce the Christmas spirit, but Santa's fallen on hard times and he's forced to take a military contract with the U.S. government to produce like parts for jets or whatever using his elves and the workshop. And then the movie ends with like this crazy shootout and like, yeah, I don't know. It's just the most absurd movie ever, but I love it.
Yeah, I'll agree. Like, definitely the premise is hilarious. And the parts I enjoyed most was like when the elves and the military dudes were like having like lunch break and they were just like talking.
cohabitating. Yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff was hilarious. But it's like the characters. So like the kid, right? The assassin. Like I guess really I just don't like them because their characters are so like satirical or tropey or
Mhm.
something. Like that's the part where I'm just like, I really care less. Like even as like the assassin's like rolling up to like Santa's ranch, right? The way he just takes out all the military guards, like that part, like it's I get it's supposed to be throwaway, but like that's the part where it just like loses me.
Yeah.
Whereas like I'd rather just kind of like dwell on the like concept they're exploring here. Like that's
Yeah.
cool. Like that is well built out and enjoyable.
I love you talked about world building in that movie, and this is just becoming a review of Fat Man, but we've been all over the place, so just enjoy. I think one of the great things that they do with this movie is the subtle exposition of the story instead of like, having a 2-minute scene of Walter Goggins' character being like, "This is why I hate you, Santa." It's a quick 2-line moment in the shootout where basically, Walter Goggins is like, that's the last toy that you gave me, and Mel Gibson says, "Well, I there are limits to what I can do. I couldn't give you your parents back." So like
Yeah.
something happened to his parents, and he asked Santa for his parents back, and of course Santa can't do that, and then that's what made him hate Santa for the rest of his life. So like little things like that are really cool. Unless you don't like fully pay attention to the movie, because then that can, since it's only like a 2-line exchange and not like a couple minute long scene, you could that can just fly over your head if you're not fully invested. But yeah, movies like Fat Man and I haven't seen Violent Night yet, but our one and only Joe Cross had seen it, and let's see if we can find. Do you have his little synopsis in Discord readily available, Nick, or do we need to scroll around for that?
Well, we can touch on his Answer the Boys because he touches on it in there.
All right, I'll let you go for
here
that,
it
and then
is.
I'll look. You found it?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
he says it's easily one of the goriest movies I have seen in theaters. I would say on par with the gore in the Saw movies, but also on par with the Christmas spirit of Prancer and a whole lot of swearing. So a lot of Christmas spirit, a lot of gore. So that is basically the summation of his review, and
Nice.
swear words.
Nice. Yeah. He goes on to say in our Answer the Boys, topic of the week, where we asked your thoughts on extreme Christmas movies and all that stuff. He says, I've not seen too many extreme Christmas movies. I haven't really seen too many extreme movies in general. I think the most extreme movies I've probably ever seen have been the Saw movies. However, my wife and I did go see the movie Violent Night, and it was probably one of the most violent movies I've ever seen. My wife would not recommend it, but I do. I highly enjoyed it. And after you watch it, you have to let me know what you thought about it. My wife said she would not care to ever watch it again, but it might become a Christmas staple for me. These movies are coming to the forefront because Hallmark has desensitized us to Christmas movies. Blame them.
Hot take.
You have to counter the garbage of Hallmark with just, the extreme polar opposite. So I totally agree with that. But no, like you say this about Violent Night, Fat Man has become that. Like, since when did it come out? 2020. I've
Yes.
watched it every Christmas season since it came out. I love it. It's so great. But yeah. Did you have anything? I couldn't.
Yeah,
tell if you
I'm
were
just
like-
I'm just trying to compartmentalize like my feelings on like Christmas movies in general. And I think because they're made for the sake of just being made, like that's the
Mhm.
other thing that like bugs me just a little bit about them, is because maybe that's like Hallmark's fault, because like they'll just pump out useless movie after forgettable useless movie, right, until the end of time. So there's just always these movies that come out and they're all built around the same premise, like they all have the same goal. So it's like, do you watch them all to figure out where the good ones are, because there are good ones, or do you
Mhm.
just not even attempt it and just like hang out on the edges? Because
Yeah.
but that's like what people fall into, like they just have to watch them all so they know which ones they like. But meanwhile, in my perspective, like that's a lot of time wasted just like watching the same movie, right, with a slightly different premise. But I will say, like, Fat Man was a little bit more creative with its premise than some other
Yeah.
ones. Like the Grinch being a slasher, like probably could be like that one's very direct. Like it's the
Yeah.
Grinch and he's a slasher killer.
Yeah, I think if the extreme movies can still deliver like the Christmas spirit, like Joe's alluding to, a Violent Night still being able to capture the Christmas spirit. At least that's the way I read your summary, Joe. So correct me if I'm wrong. But I think even Fat Man kind of does that, where Santa's cynicism, is that a word? Maybe, I don't know.
Good enough.
You probably understand what I'm trying to say, but
Yeah.
it by the end of the movie, like his Christmas spirit is restored. Particularly, there's a
Right.
scene where he's like in the barn or the shop working on his shed or whatever, and Ruth drops off some envelopes, and it's pictures of like kids opening the presents that they asked for that he gave them, and then like as grown-ups, like I think one, maybe what he asked for a fire truck and now he's a fireman or something, and is like the impact that Santa had on these kids' lives, like then spurred their dreams, and then they like made their dreams come true or whatever. And it like restores that faith he has in his purpose, in his job, right? Oh yeah, Dad. It's when Santa, of course, in Santa fashion, is getting his cardio in by punching a punching bag out in the barn. But yeah, it's just like if you can still capture those moments that people like to attribute to the Christmas season, then I think I'll watch pretty much a crack at a Christmas movie, whether it's like a horror take on Christmas, like a action take like Fat Man or Die Hard, or maybe monster take like Gremlins or Krampus or something like that,
Right.
But yeah, like how many Hallmarky Christmas movies does Netflix put out now every year? There's like 50. It's insane, and my wife watches all of them. They're so terrible. Joe says Hallmark, big city guy somehow gets trapped in a small town, falls in love with caring but guarded small town girl, and decides not to buy the town and flatten it. And then they get married and have children. I added the last part, but that's what happens.
Yeah, that's the sequel.
Yeah.
They have it's the
Exactly.
sequel. It's kind of
And
like
he's Santa.
Yeah, and he becomes Santa. Yeah, I was trying to think, like, so I guess the Christmas spirit capturing is like a really good way to maybe set the playing field, right? Because obviously there's tons of movies that happen during, in and around Christmas, and they don't do that. They're just a completely different movie. They just happen to be during Christmas.
Yeah.
Whether it's Die Hard or like Batman Returns, probably being like the most notable ones. But I guess that's the big difference, is like the ones that contain Santa and they're about like this alternative version of Santa or another like Christmas inspired character. I think the Grinch would count in there. Versus not having those characters in there to capture that. So I don't know. I guess that's all in the definition of like what is a Christmas movie versus movies that just take part during Christmas. And that's maybe like how you can really get to the bottom of the Die Hard argument is that line of logic there.
Yeah, I think that's something you have to do. You have to be able to define what makes a Christmas movie. And I want to say we've maybe had this conversation in December's past, but like if your story doesn't like contain that Christmas spirit, whatever that means to you, like story arc, and it just takes place during Christmas or around Christmas time, or like it's snowing outside, like people are like, oh, it's a Christmas movie. There was a Christmas tree in this one scene in the background. Like they never actually talk about Christmas or anything, but
like Hawkeye, right?
Yeah.
So that's not a Christmas show. It just takes place during Christmas. They don't really hit on any Christmas tropes, do they? Not that I can recall.
I don't remember. The last few Marvel entries for me kind of all seemed the same.
Ruined everything
fell
for
flat. You. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely am here for these gritty and extreme Christmas movies, and I think that should be like the next part of the conversation. Like, why are these landing? Like these extreme takes. Like what's everyone's fascination with like all the craziness of super hyper violence and things like that, and then like lumping it together with Santa. Joe says, I literally just typed Hawkeye. He's reading my hippocampus. Yep.
That's right. Our hippocampuses are in sync.
Yeah, fully stimulated.
Fully stimulated hippopotamus gland.
Yeah, but do you have any thoughts on our fascination with hyper violence, and then mixing that with something that is the exact opposite of hyper violence?
So maybe through the combination of being desensitized to general, just like the Christmas movies by Hallmark, like movies, and then just our general desensitization to violence, right? And they're meeting in the middle. So like, let's take two things that are very desensitized and put them together.
Yes.
And
what could go wrong?
What could go wrong? And apparently things go right because people watch them. They generally, I think Joe's a good example of where he enjoys it, he recommends it, and he's probably going to watch Violent Night now every Christmas. Whereas like the other group of people are just gonna be like, yeah, no, not for me. And maybe she's more of a Hallmark Christmas person. Joe, maybe you can let us know that or not, if that's okay. And you're more of the extreme Christmas movie variety. But
Joe is a pretty extreme person.
He's pretty off the rails, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time to start rolling the train gifts in the background. But yeah, I mean, people. That's the other thing, and like that's just always. I think that's always my thing is just like, and that's the part that threw me off at the beginning of Fat Man was the setup, right? We have like this stupid kid in this stupid house, and like the way it's filmed, the way it looks, the setup, like it just like reminds me of like a tropey Christmas movie. So it's like, how do you separate yourself from these like very bland like setups? Like we get it,
Mhm.
like we've seen those scenes over and over before. So how do you tell these stories and have them be that without having all the elements in it? So like
Yeah.
eventually Fat Man gets away from that. The closer
Yeah.
they get to Santa and the more they expound on his situation, that's what was unique about that movie.
Yeah.
But all the rest of the characters, not really. And you have like just like the general like mailman that works there and doesn't know, like Santa walks in every day, just knows him by Chris.
Yeah. No, he's never
Just
given
like
us the
those,
last name, actually.
yeah, yeah, it's just like those characters, and like that's where it just like kind of separates me from it.
Yeah.
Or
I
even
do
like
love.
when he's trying to snipe him like in the parking lot in the middle
Yeah,
of
that
town. I'm
was
like, what's
that
going on
part
here?
was like really stupid. I
And that's where
do
I'm like, is
love.
this satire? I'm like, is this
Yes,
purposely being
definitely.
ridiculous versus where is it taking itself seriously? And I think that's where I just kind of like have a hard time
They
focusing the
found,
whole time.
if you take that sticking the rifle out of the car window in the middle of town out, I think they hit the perfect combination of both things. Like satirically taking themselves as seriously as possible, if that makes sense.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I just, man, the kid is super annoying, and I love how it starts out kind of tropey, but like they even kind of break that with him, where like, yeah, he's like the spoiled brat who always wins first place with the science fair, but then he doesn't win first place, and he hires a hitman to kidnap the girl who did win first place, and like basically tie her up in his basement and threaten to electrocute her if she doesn't forfeit her first place. It's like, what? This kid's a psycho.
Yeah. Just
Um,
like non-believable characters,
yeah,
even
yeah,
though it's about Santa Claus. But Santa Claus
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
believable. People believe in him for a long time and still do. He's real.
yeah.
He's played by Mel
Um,
Gibson and he lives in Canada.
yeah, and I gotta say, Mel Gibson was fantastic in this movie. I loved it. Maybe his
The-
best role, I might
wow.
say. I'll say it. I'll say it right now.
All the Braveheart fans are just like about to murder you.
Mel Gibson's life work just hits
There
an
goes our
all-time
producer. He's
high
gone.
in Fat Man. It's his
Jeff,
best
Dad's
performance of
gone.
his career. Yeah, we just made our producer quit, so we'll stop getting updates and comments on screen. So apologize for that. Biosiv says, my mom doesn't enjoy extreme violence. She really wants to go see it this week. She's super excited about it too. Interesting. That'll be, you'll
Yeah.
have to keep us updated on that, Siv. And then Joe says, my wife's seen every Hallmark movie ever.
Ah,
If she
there it
had
is.
known how violent it was going to be, she would not have gone to see it. My Christmas is Christmas Story, Prancer, Grinch, and Elf. Super soft. Bro, that is a super soft Christmas.
But yeah, you have that variety. In the more, once again, like the more we talk about, like the deeper it goes. So, not every Christmas movie is made equal. So you have like the Hallmark variety, which kind of like runs us into the ground with like the usual tropes, bad acting, bad setup, bad look and feel. Then you have those, that list of movies that are just like to the T, like what people consider like a Christmas movie, like all around like a good, enjoyable Christmas movie. No funny business. Obviously, Elf like attempts to be funny. It is funny, but I enjoy the people who do not like Will Ferrell, especially at that point in his career. I get it though. Um, but then you have so there's Hallmark. There's like the good Christmas movies, whatever people want to categorize those as. And then there are these extreme variations of all this that and maybe that's why people like them, because they try to do something different, because they're not setting out to be like the next Christmas Story, or the next like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but they're also not
Yeah.
saying, oh, we're just like another printed Hallmark style movie. We're going to try and do something different here and freshen it up. And maybe that's what people go there to see. So, like, Siv's mom doesn't like extreme violence, but it's a Christmas movie that isn't any of the other things. And it might be good, especially if
Yeah.
Joe's telling us it captures the Christmas spirit.
I think it's interesting too because like people aren't creators aren't super afraid to like go to the extremes these days. So I think some people might see like,
Nigga.
oh, Violent Night, Santa's gonna beat up some people, and then like go and see it, and then it's like, oh my gosh, like I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know what's actually happening, but Santa's dismembering these criminals. Like, did he just decapitate someone with a string of Christmas lights? And then they're like either pleasantly surprised or extremely disturbed. But Dad said a little while ago before he stormed off set here, he said Guardians of the Galaxy had a Christmas special, which is true. That just came out. And due to my Marvel burnout, I have not watched it, though I've heard it was pretty funny. And Kevin Bacon makes an appearance, so that's interesting in and of itself. But yeah, and he also says people are just tired of Hallmark movies, which is so true. And I think that's like,
and Marvel movies.
It's that formulaic, like,
Yeah.
oh, A plus B plus C and then equals a movie. Or like with me, it's the same thing with music. Like, it's very hard for me to listen to like 80% of music because it's just so formulaic, and it's like, oh, you got this, four beat drum beat, and then you just add like this 3-note melody that's in every single song, and then you repeat it like 4 times, and then 3 minutes of my life I'll never get back, when I could have listened to like an amazing, I don't know, guitarist named Pliny, or some interesting instrumental chiptune music. I don't know. Now
I love the videos that I don't know. I feel like they lean into it a little bit, and they do some slight manipulation to like get your brain on the same wavelength, but where they take very popular pop songs, right, over many years, and they're like, listen to how similar they are. Like, just like the boom bap or like the claps, the hi-hats, like the right elements in there are like identical. And it's like even the cadence with how they sing like the chorus or the hook, and it's just those videos are so fun because you listen to it, you're like, wow, like it's the exact same setup with I couldn't even tell you what's different besides like the differences in their voice or something like that. So
right.
I guess
they're
that's
saying different words, maybe sometimes,
maybe not really.
Even.
Same words.
Yeah. Dad the Cap, he says in our Answer the Boys, he says, I haven't watched any extreme Christmas movies. I'm more of a traditional Christmas movie type of guy whenever I'm in the mood to watch them, which isn't too often. But nice. I did, however, enjoy Fat Man. It was different than what I'm used to, but I find myself leaning towards these extreme types of movies, and I'm looking forward to seeing Violent Night. I like a BA Santa, and it was fun to watch Mel Gibson as Santa. It was. See, he practically said greatest performance of his career, just like I did. And he's literally screaming at his camera right now.
It's fun to see Mel Gibson, period, because I feel like he's just like crawled into a hole.
Yeah, he looked like it in this movie.
Yeah, it looks like that's literally where Mel Gibson lives.
Yeah,
and like what he
went
does
to his ranch
in Canada. Is it in Canada? Or did you make that up?
No, I think it is Canada, because I want to say it is, but I could be wrong.
Jeff says yes.
I had it on while I was working, but Biosiv says the last one I watched was Black Christmas, horror Christmas movie. Yeah, I believe I want to say that was a slasher, right? I think it's on the list that you had, Nick. Which, in regards to the list that you had, there are, I would say, maybe close to half of them, or maybe just shy of half on this list are like slasher movies. Um, let's see. Black Christmas. Yep, there it is. If you're talking about the 2006 one, it made his list. This Black Christmas remake was so upsetting to some religious groups that they actively protested the film. To have a movie that emphasizes murder and mayhem at Christmas, a time of celebration and joy around the world, seems to be ill-founded, said one of such offended party who had clearly not been paying attention to the movies for previous 35 years. Admittedly, this is an even darker take on the original Black Christmas presents or premise, with even more disturbing content and at least one impalement via Christmas tree. Ouch. Yes.
So yeah, and there's that variety, and then I think in the 2000s, kind of like leading up to like in around Elf, right? And kind of like the Elf type things. Maybe that all started with like the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, right? Where it's more of that very grounded, like there isn't anything like wacky going on, but it's like hilarious. Like I find those funny where it's like funny things with just like normal people during Christmas. Like even though Santa Claus, like he actually becomes Santa Claus, it's pretty grounded that he's like a businessman, like that premise. Or like Bad Santa, where that whole thing is just like, he's just that was all about swearing, right? And getting how many swear words you can get into a Christmas movie.
Yeah. I was thinking like a mall Santa.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. Bill
Con
Bob.
man. He was a con man that like roamed around malls as Santa, doing dirty deeds.
Imposter.
Yeah.
Breath smells of meat and cheese, or I don't even remember what he says.
Yeah, he's like an alcoholic and everything. So it's Billy Bob Thornton. So it's just like a good take on it.
Yeah. We've even seen this extreme take on other types of characters. Like I believe it was this summer or sometime earlier this year. We had a crazy Winnie the Pooh movie come out.
Did it come out or is it coming out? It's like a murderous Winnie the Pooh, and that's because Winnie the Pooh IP is released to the public now, so anyone can snag the Winnie the Pooh name and do whatever they want with it. Apparently,
it's called Blood and Honey.
Yes, that's right.
And it has not come out yet, but the trailers have hit the YouTubes. This is slated to release in 2023. But yeah, here's a synopsis. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is an upcoming independent comedy slasher film. Serving as a horror retelling of A.A. Milne's and E.H. Shepard's Winnie the Pooh books. The film concerns Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, who now become bloodthirsty serial killers and embark on a murderous rampage after Christopher Robin abandons them for college.
Nice. Oh, so it's like an evolution of the story.
Yeah. I mean, sure, I'll watch it. That sounds crazy, but
like that
crazy.
That what they did there, that concept is like the same thing that we're talking like this time, even though it's not a Christmas movie, right? But it's this like innocent or like meant to be feel good or nice, not what that is. And doing that to it. So it's not even this pride isn't just limited to like Christmas, right? It's just like taking another otherwise like joyful, positive, not murderous, violent, swearing, debauched concept and making it that. And that's kind of like the underlying root there. So probably the same people that would watch one of these movies would watch any of these movies because it's just like a general curiosity to say, is it
Yeah.
good? What if it's really good?
Yeah. Well, it's just like that interesting thought of like, I'm sure we've all had a thought watching a, an IP or playing an IP or reading an IP where you're like, I wonder what would have happened if Christopher Robin just abandoned Winnie the Pooh and Piglet and just like went to college. Like, would that make them sad or angry? I mean, they spent a ton of time together. And then you get a movie like this where it's like, yes, that made them very angry, and now they're out for blood. And they're going to go murder Christopher Robin and all of his friends. Like, it's just like taking that one single thought that maybe like
Yeah.
runs through your head as you're watching something, and someone being like, you know what? Let me tell you a little story, and then it's just like, yeah, just a crazy. I think they're fun because it's so wild and out there, and like you're saying, completely unrelated to the themes and direction of like the source material. That's just like your word of alternate or alternative Santa Clauses or alternative Christmas movies is like the perfect way to phrase it, because it's like, what happened? What would the story look like if this was in an alternate universe? Like a parallel timeline where
Someone grabs the
Santa,
what if and they just kind of
yeah,
run
yeah.
with it.
Yeah, like if Santa has to be financially supported by the government, like what would happen?
He's on
Like,
hard times. How
yeah.
does Santa get by when he's on hard times? Because Christmas spirit is low.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I love, man, I just there were some lines that I caught this rewatch today that I like either glossed over or didn't catch my previous watches, but like where they tied in like, well, yeah, like your subsidy is based on like gifts delivered. And he's like, well, people didn't deserve gifts. He's like, well, your contract specifically says, and then she like reads the legalese, and then she's like, yeah, we need you to like, promote Christmas spirit because it pumps in $3 million a year, into the economy from Christmas themed sales and stuff. And I'm just like, this is amazing. Like they went through the
it
trouble to
could be
include
true.
like goofy details like that just like are kind of funny, but like also world building. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I'm all for stories like this, and I mean, they don't even have to be violent per se, but just like opposite of the source material, at least in like tone and theme.
Right. Tone's a good way to look at it too, because you could have a movie completely on brand, but the tone of it's just not what you expect.
Do you have an
Whether it be like
example in mind?
not like a specific movie, but like if someone took the idea as like typical Christmas movie, usually supposed to be uplifting, um, joyous, Christmas spirit, had those elements, but it was like monotone, or like the way they filmed it's just very dreary. Everyone's just like super like sad and negative. Basically, just like I guess subverting your expectations of what like it should be and then
Yeah.
running with that. Same thing with like the Winnie the Pooh. It's like they latched onto an idea there and they're like, let's just make Winnie the Pooh a murderer. Now that's
Yeah.
interesting because I always thought, oh, that's what I wanted to say. So things like Winnie the Pooh, like we've talked about this before on another episode, like dark or like weird theories about
Yes,
different kids
our
cartoons and things like that.
our movie conspiracy theory episode.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
So the Winnie the Pooh one's interesting because that has a dark element too, where it's like these are manifestations of like mental disorders in Christopher Robin's minds,
Mhm.
um, or personality traits through each of these characters. So it's like, did they manifest into like reality, and then now they like are loose
Are
and
the
just murdering?
slashers just really Christopher Robin?
Right. Yeah. So
Oh
like it,
man.
it kind of it and maybe that's like what like you said, when someone's just watching something and they just run with a what if, it's
Mhm.
because some of these things have like weird odd undertones built into them that
Mm.
naturally make people go like, well, it's not that far off of an
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. Yeah, man, I feel like that's a topic we should revisit again because that was super fun to do. But yeah, if you don't know what to talk about or what we're talking about, we did an episode on movie conspiracy theories, which were basically just like wild fan theories people had about movies or shows. And yeah, Nick brought one to the table of Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin and mental health and stuff, and it was super interesting. And like that's exactly what these are. It's just someone taking one of those thoughts and just being like, you know what, I'll make a story out of this.
Yeah. Episode 38.
Wow, that was a long time ago. Yeah, we could definitely add some new ones to that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited to go see Violent Night. Or
are you gonna go see it for sure, or like planned, or
I might catch it when it comes to a streaming service.
Mhm.
I don't know. We'll see. I haven't been to the theater in a while, and I wouldn't mind going. It's been a while since we've had a movie date, and I'm not even just talking about Becca and I because I know she wouldn't want to go see this, but I'm talking about a movie date with anybody.
Anybody
Yeah, they're
taking offers right now. Mike is
Yes,
taking
exactly.
offers to go on a movie date.
Hit me up in Discord. But no, there's we have the Showboys movie crew. Me and Ugly Kid Joe Cross Biosiv. We've been to a few movies together. We're always looking to grow that. It'll just be a fun Showboys field trip. So if you ever are interested in
Field
coming
trip.
watching a movie with us, and you promise you won't like kidnap and or murder any of us, like you're
Whoa.
more than welcome to join us. But yeah, I would like to see Violent Night. That'd be fun. But then, speaking of extreme stories, like, have you seen the trailers for Cocaine Bear? Because that looks amazing. I definitely want to see that.
I saw hilarious. It was Theo Von, whatever his name is. Him on a talk show with a bunch of other people, but they were talking about cocaine, like just run with it. Cocaine Bear versus Meth Tiger, right? Like who wins? They were just running through all of these like drugged up animals. I for PCP ostrich versus the Cocaine Bear. Like they kept going through, and it was really funny. And obviously Theo Von's like reaction to everything is just always so. Everything's just so normal to him. He was just like, yeah, and then he described PCP as like cocaine that comes with silverware, or something like that. It
He
was
is a
ridiculous.
special human. Like what a treat. We have Theo Von. Man, I saw this is we've been off the rails all night, which is fine. It's fun, but we're gonna go off the rails again. I saw this funny clip, a short of Theo Von talking to Joe Rogan about handing out water at a marathon, like really high on drugs. I don't even remember what kind, but
He's talking about high end drugs, or he's handing out
no,
water at a marathon
they were
high end drugs.
him and his friends had a
Okay.
water table at a marathon. They're just like wasted on something. I don't know. But they had a sign on their table, or they were holding up a sign that the water was only for Asians. But like people who were not Asian would run up and reach for it. And he's like, no, this is only for Asians. And like it's they're running a marathon, so like they're not gonna stop and like argue with it. It's like, oh, okay.
So they're just taking their
like
word
the
for
funniest thing ever. Just being racist, watching handing out water at a marathon. What?
That's outrageous.
He's a
He's
unique individual. Lots of drugs in his life.
Yeah, he has actual stand-up specials too.
Oh yeah, and they're hysterical. Like
Yeah.
Becca and I watched one, and I was like crying, laughing the whole time, because he's like he perfectly has down the zero change in voice or tone or inflection between honesty and sarcasm.
Yeah.
So you never know what you're getting from him, and that makes him so funny. Like he truly is an inspiration. Like I really try to craft my sarcasm around Theo Vaughn. And it's
In
great
that,
because if you listen to any of the Chosen companion series, like I've been friends
yes.
with James for like a little over a year, but he hasn't like really gotten to like know me super well yet. So
Yeah.
he cannot pick up on my sarcasm at all, and it's hysterical.
The one, what this must have been, was this a clip or something? I saw the part where you're just like, oh yeah, nothing really happened. I'm not really. This episode's boring. Nothing really happens. And he's like, what? He's like, seriously? I'm like,
It was like one of the most like it was like a rather large and
yeah, it
heavy
was
and
like
deep episode. He's like,
his
Wait, what?"
face. He was like
I do it
genuinely
every week,
shocked.
and he still hasn't caught on. Like, um, our last episode, like I start out, I read the episode summary, and I was like, "So, yeah, what'd you think?" And he's like, "Oh," he started answering. I was like, "About my reading of the episode summary." And he's like, What?" It was good. And I'm like, dude, I'm just. Why would I ask you what you thought about me reading the episodes?
Oh,
But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I still can get my wife with her not knowing if I'm like being serious or sarcastic, which
mm-hmm.
I take as a very high compliment. Um, I
Right.
like to I like to just be as flat as possible.
My wife is very, one, easy to scare, two, fairly gullible, and um it doesn't take much. You just have to say it with just like a straight face, straight tone. Like, don't, like you said, Theo Vaughn like doesn't skip a beat
Oh yeah,
between his like,
there's like no hesitation.
yeah, you just gotta commit to it, and if you can, it's easy to pull off, and
Yeah,
you just run with it, and just keep talking, and it's like you just blend it in. And you're like, they take it as reality.
hmm
I
that's
really wish I could remember what happened in the past week. There was, I think, a word. I said a word, trying to, and I think I convinced her it was real. But like, she knows by now because like I will leave like a hanging silence after those moments,
mhm.
and I think that's her cue to be like, you're being a smart ass, or like that's a lie. So I like to throw those out there, just the
Nice.
hanging silence, to see what gets picked up on.
That's great. I love it. Love it. Yeah, I don't know.
So do you
I
think
th-
do you think because obviously, looking at these lists that people have compiled, the 80s, right? Like you said, like half of those are slashers.
mm,
80s in general, like they had a lot of these alternative Christmas movies.
yeah.
And we're kind of, I think through 2000s, like people really got into the Christmas spirit. I think that was a real like high point for good Christmas movies. And then like we kind of like meandered in the tens here, and I feel like in the past 5 years, like we might be picking up some steam for a little bit of a trope bubble, right? With these type of movies, do you think we're gonna get more of these, like one a year? Because it kind of seems like for the past couple of years, there's been like a solid like, that's
Mhm.
different, right? From the Fat Man to Violent Night, like that staple, like we're gonna give you something different for a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And keep running with it.
Yeah, I would like to see the trend continue, and I don't know if it's like, I mean, it's not like these movies are just now being made. Even apart from the like, they're just becoming more known, right? It's like that age old conversation of like, is the world really as bad as it is? It getting worse? Is it worse than ever, or is it just because we have more access to know what's going on uh, through the internet and knowledge and all that stuff? It's like the same thing with media, right? Like it's not like these movies are just now being made with crazy Santa Clauses and like that stuff. It's just like now there's a much wider variety of platforms that you can consume this on, and that are these movies are
Too
being
many.
distributed to. So um, I think we'll continue to get um, extreme alternative Christmas style movies. And I think the cool thing is with a movie like Silent Night or Violent Night and Fat Man is you're getting like high profile people to be in them, which is awesome because that hopefully can at least lead to some sort of like credibility quality wise. Like, yeah, Mel Gibson's been in some poopy movies, but like Mel Gibson's in it, so it shouldn't be that bad, right? Or like David Harbour's in it, so like it shouldn't
Mel
be
Gibson
that
at this
bad.
point, it was either going to be awesome or a train wreck. Like that I think that was the draw of having Mel Gibson there. It was like, all right, pulling this card out of the bottom of the deck, let's see what we get.
Yeah.
And it was good.
But
good
but like
movies.
Violent Night, you have David Harbour who's like at the height of his
Peak.
career,
Yep.
like massive success with Stranger Things.
He'll
Landed
carry
a role
regardless.
in the MCU as, you know, whatever Russian Captain America he is in Black Widow. So like he's rolling, right?
Yeah.
And he's in this crazy alternative Christmas movie, which is awesome. So I would think the trend will continue. It just, I wonder how many different ways you can tell an alternative Christmas story. Like
Is it-
we've had 2 now of like violent Santas, and how many different violent story archetypes are there to tell of Santa saving the day, right? We got one of him fending and fighting off an assassin, and in Violent Night, he is from the synopsis in this article, it's basically like Die Hard, but replace Bruce Willis with the actual Santa Claus, like he's saving a family from a hostage situation. So like how many other, like, is Santa gonna become like a general of some military force and win a
Of
war on
those.
Christmas? Like what, how many how many different violent things can
Like-
Santa save the day?
Like a literal end game, like battle between like elves and I don't know, abominable snowmen trying to ruin Christmas.
Yes.
Led by the Grinch and his brothers.
Yeah, the Grinch has he's accumulated all of the power bulbs for his
Dragon
mitten
Balls.
of doom. But fortunately for us, you can't really snap wearing a mitten, so like I don't know, the elves somehow stop him. Dwayne Johnson is the Santa Rock.
Santa Rock. Speaking of like height of their career, so is that what happened to Tim Allen? So like I don't know if that was the peak of his career, but it might have been. But like he became Santa Claus, right? He did his Santa Claus movie, his Christmas movie, and it was so good that they made like 2 more, and then like 20 years later, he gets a series on Disney Plus, right?
Mhm.
So is that what's going to happen to Old Hopper here? Like, is he about to like
I don't
peak
know.
transition into just like a trilogy of Violent Nights,
I think I'm okay with that.
Violent Eve, and Violent the Day After Christmas?
Yeah, violent. Now the one holiday that deserves a violent movie is Black Friday. What if Santa, David
That's just
Harbour,
the Purge
comes?
movies.
Santa saves the world from the Purge, aka Black Friday, one year to remind
The
people.
Easter Bunny. We need Easter versions of these things.
Ooh.
That would be Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Donnie Darko does Easter.
Donnie Darko, yeah.
By the
They
end, no one
exist.
knows what the movie's about. They just know-
Yeah.
they just know Donnie Darko's wearing a pink suit this time.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I thought that like they totally could have done that with like made a Nightmare Before Christmas like franchise where, because
Right.
before he goes in the Christmas door, there's all the other holiday doors. They could have just, they could make another movie where he's like, oh, I wonder what this turkey door does. Then he goes and learns about
I
Thanksgiving.
wonder.
Or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that would have been That'd have been super interesting.
Violent Night.
Again, there's another perfect example of an alternative Christmas movie that just like is so wild and out there, but it like totally lands and is amazing. But like you have the king of Halloween Town learning about what Christmas is, and then I don't know. That's just is a brilliant idea for a movie.
Yeah, and I'm gonna correct like the way I frame the trilogy for Violent Night. So, because it's Silent Night, which is a song. So would it be like 12 Days of Violence, and we just take all like the Christmas songs
Go
and
through all the carols.
go through all the carols.
Yes,
And that is what Hopper like. That's where
12 Nights of Violence.
he's
Oh
gonna
my
spend
gosh.
the next like 5 years doing these movies.
Slay the halls.
Slay has a like triple entendre right there.
Yeah, it's David Hopper is Santa, but Beyonce is Mrs. Claus.
Oh
They're
god.
just slaying. Biosiv says they
Quadruple.
do a live action Futurama Christmas movie about the robot Santa.
Whoa.
There we go. There we go.
Santa's a robot, or robots have a separate Santa Claus?
What if the real Santa goes missing and Bender is like, "Oh, I got just the thing to fix Christmas," and he captures. It's like a mixture of Futurama and Nightmare Before Christmas, where Bender kidnaps the robot Santa Claus and replaces the real Santa Claus with. I'm just. There we go. The 12 Slays of Christmas.
Man, all the carols are gonna get it.
Yes.
Darn you, Carol.
Jingle bells, shotgun shells, or something. I don't know.
All right, that's the end of this.
Yeah, I don't know how much more we can ramble on about this, so let's probably wrap this up. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks, Nick, for coming back and podcasting.
I brought a gift with me.
You brought it. We got our very own Santa Claus right here, our own Saint Pixel Nick over here.
That's right, Saint Pixel Nick. And I delivered the pixels. OLED pixels.
In name and gift for sure. Make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed what we presented to you tonight. Though this is a questionable episode to get you to subscribe from. Civ says in Futurama, Santa is a robot who has accidentally been programmed to think everyone is on the naughty list, so he tries to kill everyone on the show. That could work. I like it. Nothing like a murderous AI. Actually, that might hit a little too close to home with these Boston Dynamics and Elon Musk, our overlord, turning everything to AI. I don't know. That might get a little too Black Mirror-ish for me. I don't know if I could deal with that. Subscribe. Tell all your friends to subscribe. Help us hit these goals so we can give you guys presents.
Sorry, shotgun shells.
Yeah. What do we got going on? We have we actually, dude, I know it's early. We still got a couple weeks, but I'm so excited for 2023. Like, we have some very fun ideas coming up here just to kick off the new year. We're going to be talking about the Santa Clauses series on Disney Plus. Speaking of Tim Allen, that'll be coming in the coming weeks. We'll also, of course, have our year in review and recap at the end of the year. And then, very next week on the first episode of 2023, we got to go over our gaming goals and recap, set some new gaming goals for the year. And then we have, the return of Throwback Thursdays, which will be really fun, and probably our most ambitious project to date. We have a whole theme for March that is going to be ridiculous and super fun, and we need all of your help and input, which details will be coming, actually, which leads us into Patreon. Nick and I are going to be revealing those details and working on this episode concept for our December Patreon episode. So
episodes.
Yes. Head over to patreon.com/showboyspodcast. Take a look over there. We have 4 different tiers set at different prices for you to support us if you feel so kind to do so. One of those perks is an exclusive episode available only to our patrons. So go check that out. Sign up if you would be so kind. And in the meantime, we'll see you next week. Have a great evening. Bye.
Oh, hey,
Mike's dead. He's gone.
Santa got him.
Santa got him. Winnie the
Hate-
Pooh and Santa got him.
Oh man, you hate to see
He's
it.
toast. He's
He
gone.
gone.
Gotta go grab that Switch right there. Play some Switch games.
Yeah.
Or I just open this
Oh.
OLED, I guess. Light on. Hey, it's Mike in his
Oh, there he
pajamas.
is.
Everyone,
Hey, he's-
look.
He's not dead.
He's not
No.
dead. Winnie the
My
Pooh did not
bladder
get him.
almost burst though.